Thank you everyone for joining. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about Flood Platform and the flood products that Jacobs have. Just a little introduction of what we're going to be covering. So who we are, who the flood products team are, an introduction to the platform. I'm going to go through the key capabilities of the platform and do a bit of a live demo to show you those. We'll talk a little bit about what's next. So Flood Platform's currently in beta, so it's evolving very quickly. And then we'll leave a little bit of time for Q&A. So I did notice a lot of people kind of missed the first couple of minutes of Ian's intro. So just to cover, this is only 30 minutes, so we'll move pretty quickly. Hopefully you're enjoying something nice for lunch while you're watching the screen. So just a little bit of a history of who we are. I joined the Flood Products team last year, but it's not new to Jacobs. Jacobs didn't just one day decide to start making flood products. We've got a long history, starting in the 70s. So you might have heard of a company called Halcro that came out of the UK, and a flood modelling tool that had an unfortunate name. It wasn't unfortunate when we started, but in the 21st century got a bad name. And then it got rebranded. We added 2Flow to become Flood Modeler. So 50 years of development. So we understand flood modelling, we understand flood products. And later this year, we'll be releasing Flood Platform. So a little bit of our development philosophy. So when we create platforms to do our modelling on or to look at models, we really want to focus on three things. We want it to be easy to use, we want it to be fast, and we want it to be robust. And I think the easy to use part is something that really sets us apart from some of the rest of the industry. And I think once I show you Flood Platform, if you haven't seen it already, that'll become pretty evident. It's one of the best tools that I've used. We've got a dedicated user experience designer on the team, which really focuses on making it easy. We're going through external beta testing at the moment, and we don't have a help documentation for the reason of we're testing out how good our designer is to see if they can, people can use the software without having to go through help and training. All right, so on to what Flood Platform is. Well, it's one platform to unify your flood modelling. It is a data management, model management platform, which is completely web-based, and you can use it to store your models and also run your simulations if you have a lot of simulations to do. This has actually got a 15-year history in Jacobs. So it was developed internally as a tool to deliver some national flood modelling projects years ago, and it's been refined over time. And one of the reasons why we wanted to bring it to externally and so that everyone could use it is Jacobs internally has found huge benefits and efficiencies in their flood modelling workflows, particularly when you have hundreds of simulations to do. And in Australia, with AR&R and ensemble rainfall, that is very, very useful to be able to run simulations in parallel and quickly. So at the moment, it works with 2Flow. In the near future, it will work with Flood Modeler, HECRAS, EPA Swim, and hopefully something else that's dear to my heart. But what isn't Flood Platform? It is not a new modelling tool. So if you are comfortable with 2Flow, you're comfortable with Flood Modeler, whatever you're using, we're not chopping that out. We're not expecting you to drop that. We're just the platform to help you use those tools more efficiently. Okay, so apart from wanting to kind of share the internal benefits that Jacob has seen with Flood Platform, there's other reasons why we developed Flood Platform. So the product team in the UK went out and interviewed, surveyed, and ran some workshops with industry members all around the world and from different sectors to understand what their problems are and what kind of where we could help them with products. So they kind of came back with 4 different regions where they thought the industry could help them, the product industry. So collaboration, data management, technology, and data security. So these are the 4 areas where we can really help the industry, and we really need help in these areas. So collaboration is key to flood modelling. It's really becoming obvious now that flood projects, especially the major ones, aren't being done by one consultant. There's very often multiple consultants working in parallel, and then you have peer review, and then you have the client all working together to get these jobs done. So it's really important that we can collaborate and work together. Data storage, very important. I have not met a flood modeler to date that has plenty of storage. There's always an ongoing battle with their IT departments to either delete some files or get some more storage and pay some more money. Technology, if you've ever been stuck with a slow laptop or not enough resources to run your models, it can just cripple you in your job. So having the right software and the right tools to do your job is really important. And then overarching all of these issues is security. So when we built Flood Platform, we've built it to kind of alleviate some of those pains associated with those current and future problems. Nothing to do with hydraulic engines. So we're not trying to compete with hydraulic engines. Everyone's comfortable with what they've got. So Flood Platform, we've got 6 key capabilities broken down into model management, simulation analysis, visualization, collaboration, reporting, and security and compliance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the first 4 in a little bit more detail, and then I'll open up the software, I'll open up the web browser and show you a little bit more inside the tool. All right, so model management. This comes down to being able to easily upload your models into a workspace. What we do is we do an automated review of the model files to make sure that you have everything you need. Last thing you want to do is hand over your model to your client, or the client receives the model and then you go to run it a month later and realize that you don't have the files that you need. Or perhaps you've got the results that don't match the model. So we also look at version control to make sure that those kind of things don't happen. You can set permissions and allow different people into your workspaces with different permission settings. And we've got unlimited storage. I've got an asterisk there because obviously nothing's unlimited in this world, but when we're basing our things on Azure Cloud, it really essentially is unlimited in the way of flood modeling. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just jump to the software. I've got it up in the desktop world for too long, into the web browser. So hopefully you can see my web browser at the moment with Flood Platform open. So at the moment we're in beta, as I mentioned earlier, but this will be floodplatform.com. And on the home page, we've just got access to all the workspaces. So at the moment, this is a Jacobs kind of platform. And if you had a Flood Platform, you would have your own working space where no one else could access that. So what we can do is, if we're getting started, we would create a new workspace. But as you can see, I've got plenty of workspaces, so I'll jump to one that I've already created. And you can see under this workspace, I have a couple of different projects already. Now, if I wanted to invite some people to this workspace to work with me or to review some models or some results, I can come into the settings here, jump to the permissions tab, and then I can add some people. So you can see Ian's already got access, and I can switch what kind of access he has. So if I wanted to make him a member, which means he can collaborate on these models with me. And you can even drill down into what these permissions mean. So if you want viewers only to be able to access results, not be able to download models, you can really go down into the fine-grained permissions of that. Right. So what I'm going to do is, if I've got my workspace there, I'll just show you how to create a new project. So you might be adding a new model, you might have a new project starting, or you might have a new area or suburb that you're modeling. So you can give it a project code, give it a description, and then you can add some tags. So if you want to be able to find it easily and sort, because I can imagine that once people get going on this, they're going to have hundreds of projects. And if you put some tags in there, webinar, then we can find them later, filter them out. The other thing that you can do is you can set some areas to work in, so some boundaries. So you can see here the actual workspace I've got is the southern end of the Gold Coast, top end of the Northern Rivers, which is where I'm located. And if I wanted to set some boundaries here, perhaps I don't want the team in New South Wales to be getting access to my model files. I can come in here, you can see the Queensland, New South Wales border. and I can create that project, which means that no one can add details into that project outside of the area of interest. So we've got our workspace, our project. Next thing we'd want to do is we'd want to upload our model. So as I said, this is not a replacement for your modeling processes and modeling tools. It's just an enhancement. So I've already built a two-flow model in QGIS, and I'm going to upload it. So first of all, I've got to tell the platform what kind of model I've got. So I've got two-flow, and I'm going to, this is really just for filtering purposes in the future, but I've got a combined model there, and it's actually a 1D, 2D model. Right, once I've created the category, just go in here and I upload my model. So at the moment, we're just supporting zip files. So in the zip file, I've got all the two-flow files that I need to be able to run the model. And you can actually upload results as well. So if you've run all your simulations on your local computers, perhaps you've got significant storage and you've got significant power, which a lot of people do nowadays. There's no need to change your workflow. You can build it, you can run them all, and then you can upload it when you're finished. So as that's uploading, I'm just going to go back here, use the breadcrumbs at the top, and go to a model that I've already uploaded. Right. So once you've uploaded your model, it goes and does that review and has a look for all the files that you need to actually run those simulations and produce the results. And it also makes sure that you've got, it tells you of any missing files and anything you may be needing to do. So you can see here that I've actually got some issues with this upload of the model, but it's actually all just some missing result files of a 1D. So I could go and resolve those, or I could rerun them, depending on how big the problems are. And I can also go and have a look at the files that make this model up. So you can see here I've got the batch files, sorry, the two-flow control files. I've also got the batch files. And under the model, I've got all my relevant details and my database. So one thing that's really nice is the way you can view the files. It's a little bit limited at the moment where you've got the beta, but you can actually click on the Excel spreadsheets and you can see all the relevant information. You can also search all the data through there as well. Now, if I go back, loving the breadcrumbs, I go to the simulations page, and you can see when I uploaded this model, there was results with those models. So you'll see that they appear as run because there's results with them. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of how you can manage your models in Flood Platform. Now I'm just going to jump back to the PowerPoint slide to the next capability, which is simulation and analysis. So one thing that's been really powerful and really useful in the internal version of Flood Platform is the elastic licensing and compute power that we have. So if you need to run 100, 200, 500 simulations, being able to run them in parallel, you'll get those results a lot faster. The other thing you can do is you can analyze the health of those simulations from anywhere because you're in a web-based platform. So on Monday, I set off some simulations as I was building the demo model, and I went and picked up my child from kindergarten, and I thought, right, can I go to the beach or should I check on my models? I just logged in on my phone. Parents' worst nightmare has been able to access your work from anywhere. But I logged in on my phone, could see my simulations were still running. And so off we went to the beach rather than having to worry about failed simulations. And of course, you've got access to all sorts of great compute power as well with the cloud. Right, so I'll just jump back into the platform. Right, so obviously these simulations are run. If you needed to, if there was missing files or something failed, you perhaps want to rerun them, or perhaps you've updated the model and need to rerun them. This one here, so what I can do is I can open it in a new tab, and I can send that off to the queue. And I can actually go and do that with multiple simulations if I want at once. And we will be building a dashboard to be able to set off multiple simulations and view them all in one hit. But at the moment, it's running them all one at a turn. And as that's starting to kick off, I'll go and show you one that's already run. So you can see all the relevant information about the simulation. So the arguments, the time step, actually this is HPC, so that's the first time step, the hardware that it's been run on, and the solution scheme. And then because it's HPC, if I come down here, you can actually see the relevant information around that model health. So we do need to add the time step here, but you can see all the information there. And it looks like I've got some deep water there at some point in the simulation. You can also go have a look at the input file, make sure that you are running the right model and you're looking at the right results. And you can also look at the log file. So this simulation is already finished, but if you are running a simulation at the time, you will actually see this updating regularly as your simulation's going. So you're not losing any of the kind of things that you would do on the desktop. All right, so that's the simulation and analysis. And I will jump back into the PowerPoint. I'm moving pretty quickly, make sure we get through everything in the 30 minutes. So the next key capability is visualizing your results. So you can play your simulations, you can review your check files, you can hopefully visualize your 1D structures very, very soon. I was hoping that it would be available today, but it looks like if I did the webinar tomorrow, we would have been in luck, but not today. And we can modify themes and transparency around that. And these capabilities are just going to grow as the product develops and matures. Right, so jumping back into the platform, let's have a look at these results. So hopefully you've built your model in the right projections. When it uploads, it knows where in the world it is, and it will bring the nice background data in for you. And so you can see here on the bottom, I've got some check files that I can look at, including the ground elevations. I've got my arrow layers and I've got my rasters. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just put on my maximum depths. So you can see it's a pretty small model. It's a 1D, 2D integrated. Unfortunately, we can't see the pipes in here, but they are there. I'll just show you this is the model in QGIS, so you can see all the pits and pipes there. And that's the maximum flood levels. So what we can do then is we can change the transparency of this, nice and dark, whatever you like, and in the future you'll be able to change the color schemes as well. I'll just put on the temporal depths. All right, so you can see at time 0 I've got some initial water levels there. You can press play and you can also change the speed, so you can speed up your simulation, make sure you're not sitting there too long watching a playback. But nice and useful information there coming through. And you can zoom in. Now zoom into, this is called Coolangatta Creek here. By the way, if you live here, don't take my flood model as gospel. Go and have a look at the local council flood levels, because I have built a quick demo model here. But you can also turn on the arrows. So one thing that's nice here is you can see the flows. At the start of the simulation, the creek's actually filling up, so the water's coming back up the creek. And as you move through time, water starts coming downstream, going through the culverts here up under the beach. All right, so that's reviewing the results, the visualization. I can't wait to have the 1D results and be able to share that with you, hopefully very soon. I'll jump back to the PowerPoint deck. And off to our last our last major benefit that I wanted to show you, which is collaboration. So a couple of things that we can do is real-time review. So we can add comments into our models where we need to perhaps ask someone to have a look at what they've built. Is there something wrong with the model? We can invite users into the workspace. So setting those permissions, inviting them to their workspace so that they can be a reviewer. We can send models to others. So once you're part of the workspace, even if you're just a viewer, you can have access to download the model, download the results. and so it's easy to share them. So little AI image generated on the right there, I had a bit of a laugh when I was making that. But actually, it's probably not so funny for some people because this kind of thing is still unfortunately happening. If you're a fellow Tasmanian, sorry to point you out, but I did hear about a large flood model and machine being wheeled through the streets of Hobart not that long ago. To be fair, they were sharing a modelling PC as well, but these things are still happening. So hopefully Flood Platform can help alleviate some of those painful and scary moments of carrying expensive flood models and gear through the streets. All right, so let's have a look how that looks in the platform. So back in the model. All right, so if I wanted to have a look at this model, perhaps I was reviewing it, perhaps I was the client. I might want to actually have a look at, there's obviously an inlet here where the flows go through. And perhaps we need to have a look at the safety of that. It's in a holiday destination. So perhaps we want to ask someone to go out and have a look, or perhaps we want to ask the modeler to go and have a look. Is this really what's happening? So click on the comments there. And you can see that it's all relationships, it's all localized, so you can see exactly where the comments are. You'll be able to tag people in this. Right. And it's not yet, but it will be threaded, which means that I could tag someone in there, they could come in, have a look at it, and respond back, yes, I've looked at it, it's all fine. So we can do that. Oops. Perhaps I want to have a look here at what's going on here, you know. Something missing in the model. And all those comments are saved with the project, so you never lose kind of the history. I know flood modelers are supposed to keep logs of their models. Some are better than others. I was never good at it when I was a modeler back in the day. But you could do it all inside Flood Platform. You can also export out some images if you wanted to. You can create PDFs and images if you wanted to go to a quick meeting, take a flood map. Back on the breadcrumbs. Right, so if I go back in through here, the other thing I can do is I can export the model. And so that will just package up the model, download it for me, and I believe it sends you an email when the download's finished, because these models could take a little while to download depending on your internet connection. Right, I think that's everything. I've got a little checklist, just checking off I've shown you all the things I wanted to show. We'll jump back into the PowerPoint deck. Right, just summarizing the key capabilities. So I've gone through the first 4. We've talked a little bit about security and compliance. We'll be bringing out more information on that soon. And also we're working on reporting. So this will be a little bit dependent on the feedback we get from the beta testers and also as people start to use this, what people really want in reporting. I know in Australia in particular, we've got lots of different states, lots of different councils that work differently and require different things in the way they build their flood reports. The UK has the benefit of it's a little bit more standardized, particularly with the EA. So they are cracking on and building that for the UK. So what's coming next? As I said, this is in beta. It's moving really fast. Hopefully the 1D pipes are there very quickly. I'll be able to post that up on LinkedIn or share another webinar soon. But other things that I'm quite excited about is the simulation page where we can track many different simulations at once. And we're also working on some kind of dashboards where you can review kind of all your model spaces on a map so that you can find your models quickly.